Me and Carrie had been hitched for 3 years, and I figured life was as good as it gets. Turns out, I was wrong, it got even better. About 8 months back, Carrie found out she was expecting. We'd pretty much given up hope of ever having a kid, but now, bam, we were stepping into parenthood. A little girl. Our daughter. Man, can you believe it? I read somewhere that daughters tend to stick closer to their dads than their moms. Shoot, I'm totally cool with that. I also came across something saying kids mostly pick up their traits from their old man. That works for me too, no complaints here. Anyway, we were over the moon about it. We went nuts buying up piles of clothes and toys, couldn't help ourselves. We turned the spare room into a pink explosion, every shade you could dream up. By the time we were done, it looked like a Pepto-Bismol factory had blown up in there. Then, out of nowhere, the most stunning woman I've ever laid eyes on, maybe the prettiest on the whole dang planet, strolled right into my office. Okay, office, might be stretching it a bit. It's more like a cubicle. But it's a corner cubicle, and around this dealership, that's a big deal, means something. Yeah, you heard me right, dealership. I sling cars for a living. Lincolns, to be exact. I move a ton of Lincolns, way more than the next 2 guys put together in a month. The funny thing? I'm downright terrible at selling. No kidding, I'm awful. I couldn't care less if you bought a car from me or walked away empty-handed. So how the heck am I raking it in? Seems I'm like a human magnet for folks itching to buy wheels. It all kicked off 6 years ago. My old man was nuts about Lincolns, never drove anything else. He swore they were the top dogs for quality and safety. That held up pretty well until a semi flattened the one he and Mom were riding in, taking them both out. Dad was a sharp guy, though. He'd set up a family trust that locked in tight after he passed, and since I was their only kid, I got named trustee and the whole enchilada. The trust wasn't overflowing with riches, under $1 million, a sweet house, and 2 Lincolns, Mom's, and whatever scraps were left of Dad's. That's what dragged me to the dealership in the first place. I needed a new ride. Mom's car was getting long in the tooth, so I figured it was time to trade up. Right there on the showroom floor was the exact model I had my eye on. I was checking it out, waiting for a salesman to show, when this older couple wandered over and asked if I worked there. I told them nope, just a customer. Then they pointed at another car and asked if I knew anything about it. I said I knew a little, so we walked over and I ran through what I could about it. After that, I moseyed back to the one I liked. By then, a salesman finally showed up, and we started haggling over my deal. I'm the type who knows what I want and pushes hard for it, so I wasn't making it easy on him. Toward the end of our back and forth, the sales manager popped over, introduced himself, and said that couple I'd chatted with bought the car we'd looked at. He thanked me and pretty much handed me everything I'd been asking for on my own deal. Over the next couple months, I swung by the dealership 3 more times, once for title and registration, once for a service check, and once to swap out a bum tire. Every darn time, some customer tried to buy a car off me. I never hang out in the service waiting room. Too much trash TV or some loud jerk yapping on his phone, so I kill time on the showroom floor, eyeballing the cars. Sure enough, someone always mistakes me for a salesman. The Atlantic time it happened, that same sales manager called me into his office. A real office this time. A big, fancy one too, real nice digs. By the end of our little chat, I was on the payroll. That was 6 years back. Since then, I've climbed to the top as the dealership's biggest moneymaker ever and pocketed a boatload of cash. I work when I feel like it, come and go as I please. It's downright spooky how it all panned out. Up until 3 years ago, I was flying solo and loving every minute of it. I had my share of fun with the ladies and sold cars left and right. I've turned down a bunch of promotions over the years. Sure, a real office would have been sweet, but I didn't want the headaches that come with managing people. Plus, I was already out-earning everybody but the sales manager. Anyway, this drop-dead gorgeous woman barged into my cubicle and started yammering away. I didn't catch a single word. I just sat there, jaw on the floor, eyes bugging out like a cartoon. "You listening to me?" she snapped. I shook my head to snap out of it. Sorry, I zoned out for a sec, I mumbled. Zoned out on that killer figure, more like it, I thought. I'm Sara Bennett, she said, and I'm married to the world's biggest jackass. I raised an eyebrow and asked, Okay, why is that my problem? She shot back. Because he's sleeping with your wife and that baby she's carrying? It's his. Hold up, what did you just say? I stammered. You heard me loud and clear. She fired back. Well, shoot, let's figure this out. So, this woman I've never clapped eyes on before storms into my cubicle and drops a bomb. Her dirtbag husband's been fooling around with my wife and might have fathered her kid. That sum it up? Before I could even process it, she whipped out a stack of photos and slid the first one my way. It was Carrie, buck naked down on her knees. That your wife? She asked, eyeballing me. Yeah, I croaked out. Well, that's my husband with her. She flicked another picture at me. This one showed Carrie and her guy tangled up in bed, her big pregnant belly practically grazing the sheets. Then came a third shot, her husband planting a kiss right on Carrie's stomach. My gut churned, and I felt the bowel rising fast. Where'd you? I started, but didn't make it to the trash can in time. I puked all over the floor, loud enough to turn every head in the dealership. Sara Bennett snatched the photos back as folks started piling in to gawk at the disaster. I muttered an excuse and bolted to the bathroom, Atlanticing cold water on my face and swishing some around my mouth to kill the taste. By the time I got back, maintenance had mopped up my mess and hit the showroom with some disinfectant spray. Sara was parked in one of the chairs we've got scattered around. I shuffled over to her. Sorry about that, I said. You caught me off guard big time. I get how you're feeling. You up for talking now? She asked. Dunno. I can give it a shot. We could hit the conference room or bounce somewhere else, she suggested. Let's get out of here, I replied. This place reeks like barf now. She cracked a little smile despite everything. She hooked her arm in mine, and we headed out. Which one of these slick rides is yours? She asked. I pointed to mine, we climbed in, and she offered, Want me to drive? I shook my head no and peeled out toward the closest bar, the one in the Marriott Hotel, just 3 blocks down. We rolled up, and I started to hop out. Hang on a sec, Mr. Hayes, she said. If you're thinking about some revenge fling, don't bother, she added. By the way, that's me, Jake Hayes. Matt to my pals. Nah, this is just the nearest spot with booze, and I need a drink and some answers, I told her. A couple minutes later, we were slid into a booth, drinks in hand. I'm a gin and tonic guy, always have been. Sara, she went for a Riesling. All right, Mrs. Bennett, lay it out from the top, I said. She took a sip and started. 3 days ago, my husband got shot by some punk he was trying to cuff. He's a cop, she went on. Him and his crew were busting a drug deal when it all went sideways. Took 3 bullets, critical condition now, barely hanging on. But if he pulls through, that pain's gonna be nothing compared to the hell I'll rain down on him. Anyway, he's out cold in the hospital. I took his stuff home and started digging through it. Found a photo of a white woman in his wallet, topless. Didn't impress me much. No offense, Mr. Hayes, but I've got her beat in the looks department, she said with a smirk. So I got curious, why is he carrying this around? I tore the house apart looking for more and came up empty. Then I rang his shift supervisor and asked to check his locker at the station. That's where I struck gold. Gold? What do you mean? I pressed. Found about 50 pics of that jerk and your wife, plus 2 videos of them getting it on. Oh, and some letters from her too. They've got secret P.O. boxes they use to keep in touch, she explained. That's how I tracked her down, and you. Her letters were all gushy about being pregnant with his daughter. Martina's the name they picked, by the way, she tossed in. She even bragged about that pink bedroom you guys set up, how she can't wait to ditch you so he can move in and see it. My stomach lurched again, like I was about to hurl. Ah, crap, not again. I groaned. You okay? She asked. I think I can hold it together. Fingers crossed. I muttered. Can I get copies of those videos? Sure thing, she said, digging 2 CDs out of her purse and handing them over. I know this is a lot to swallow, she said, but here's my plan. I'm meeting a lawyer in an hour. Next time I deal with that jerk, it'll be in court. I'm suing him for every dime he's got, or ever will have. That kid's gonna have to lean on her mom, 'cause her dad'll be tapped out. Give me a day or 2 to chew on this, and I'll ring you up. I told her. Can I grab your number? I pulled out my phone, punched her digits in, and we polished off our drinks. Then she headed out. Even with my head spinning, I couldn't help but join every other soul in that bar watching her strut out, pure grace, style, and beauty rolled into one knockout package. Carrie's no slouch, don't get me wrong, but why this guy would trade Sara for her is beyond me. Carrie's decent in the sack, nothing mind-blowing. But Sara? I'd bet my Atlantic buck she's a firecracker. Then it hit me. I didn't even know her husband's name. So I dialed her up quick. You're not telling me you've already figured everything out, are you? Sara asked over the phone. Nah, not yet, I shot back. But I've got a few things I need to clear up. First off, what's that jerk's full name? Second, how'd you track down my name and where I work? And third, does Carrie even know he got shot? His name's Tom Allen Bennett, she said, cool as a cucumber. In one of her mushy letters, your wife bragged to him about where you slink cars. She went on. Said it'd be a riot if he rolled up after the divorce and bought one from you with your own cash. So, I had your Atlantic name from her scribbles and knew your dealership. Piece of cake. As for whether she knows he's been plugged, she continued, the news got wind of the drug bust and aired it, but they didn't name the cops who took bullets. When I rummaged through his locker, I found a burner phone I didn't recognize. Figured she's been hitting him up on that. If she's tried in the Atlantic 3 days, she's probably scratching her head wondering why he's ghosting her. I haven't cracked it yet to check. Screw her, I muttered. Let her sweat it out. For the first time since Sara crashed into my life, I almost let out a laugh. For a cop, he sure leaves a sloppy trail, huh? I said. If that idiot pulls through, the next mess he makes'll be courtesy of one pissed-off lady. I'd pegged her before as graceful, sea Atlantic-y, stylish, and drop-dead gorgeous. Now I'd toss in a foul mouth as another perk. If she ran a liquor joint, she'd be the whole package, I thought. I wasn't itching to head home. Facing Carrie felt like walking into a minefield. I knew about her and the jerk, but far as I could tell, she had no clue I was in the loop. I dialed up the dealership's lawyer and set up a quick meet. 20 minutes later, he was laying it out. My family trust was untouchable. She couldn't lay a finger on a single cent of it. All she could claim was half of what we'd built up since we tied the knot, but I'd be damned if she got a nickel of that either. I'd rather hightail it to City and blow every Atlantic dime at the blackjack tables than let her cash in. With that settled, I headed home. Carrie was parked in the living room when I walked in. She sprang up, rushing over for a hug and a kiss, but I threw up a hand. Hold off, I'm feeling rough and don't want to get you or the baby sick, I said, keeping it smooth. She froze at that, staring at me like I'd grown a second head. I pushed through dinner and the evening, trying to act like everything was normal. Man, it was one of the toughest nights I've ever gritted through. Looking at that cheating woman made my skin crawl, let alone chatting like nothing was wrong, but I had to keep it together for my next move. Just a few more days. She's toast, I promised myself. Over dinner, she brought up some chatter she'd heard about a drug bust a couple days back, said some folks got shot. I played it casual and said, yeah, one of our mechanics mentioned a cop buddy of his took a few bullets a couple days ago. Guy's hanging on by a thread. Dunno if it's the same deal or not. Her eyes went wide, and I could see the panic creep across her face. She mumbled something quick and bolted for the bedroom, practically tripping over herself. I trailed behind, pressing my ear to the door as she dialed someone up. Come on, sweetie, pick up. Please pick up, she whispered. Oh God, don't let it be him. Please, she begged. I swung the door open and stepped in. Don't let it be who? And who's Sweetie? I asked, keeping my tone even. And what phone's that? Yours is sitting on the coffee table, I pointed out. It's Lori's, she stammered. She forgot it here yesterday. That's who I meant by Sweetie. Don't let what be who? I pressed. What are you even talking about? She fired back, flustered. You said, oh God, don't let it be him, I repeated. No, I didn't. I said, God, I hate the gym, she blurted, scrambling for a cover. Oh, my bad. Guess I heard it wrong, I said, playing dumb, then turned to fix myself a drink. She was lying through her teeth, and I knew it. I skipped the drink, grabbed my keys, and peeled out. I landed at my go-to coffee shop and rang Sara. Hey, it's Jake Hayes, I said. I hashed things out with a lawyer this afternoon, and I'm ready to pin their hides to the wall. Perfect, she replied. They'll be catching it from both ends then. My attorney and I are gearing up to do the same. Oh, and I cracked the jerk's phone, she added. Password was his badge number. Real creative, huh? There's hundreds of texts between them. Some of it's downright nasty. Right after I got in, your wife called and left a voicemail, she said. Wanted to know why he hadn't hit her back. Then she called again, freaking out, heard a cop got shot and was scared it might be him. Told him to call her ASAP. How'd she catch wind of it? I filled her in on the story I'd fed Carrie. We both cracked up over it. You know what I really want to do? I said. Slap one of those videos online and see if I can turn a profit. I swear I could feel her grinning through the line. We chewed the fat for a while longer before I hung up with Sara. I dragged myself back home. Carrie was out cold when I got there. I crashed in one of the spare rooms instead of our bed. Come morning, she'd already split by the time I rolled out of the sack. I threw some clothes in a suitcase and booked a flight to city. I buzzed my sales manager to let him know I'd be off the grid for a few days. No sweat, he said, so I hightailed it to the airport. 6 hours later, I was plumped down at a blackjack table, betting big and aiming to torch all my cash. Turns out, Lady Luck had other plans. 3 hours in, I was up $9,800, way off script. So I switched gears, writing checks from our joint accounts and cashing them like a madman. If I couldn't lose it, I'd fake it till I made it. Around 11 p.m., my phone lit up with Carrie's name. Where the heck are you? Home late? You never pull late shifts, she yammered. I'm in city, smashed out of my skull. I slurred back. What? Why were you there? She demanded. Found out you're a two-timing snake, that's why. I cut the call and powered off my phone, then stumbled up to my room. I'd been dodging those videos Sara handed me, but the time had come. I raided the minibar for a rum and coke, never touched the stuff before, but I'd never watched my wife cheat on tape either. Seemed like a night for breaking new ground. The first clip kicked off early in their fling. Carrie wasn't showing yet, but she was all over him, wild and insatiable in ways I didn't even know she could be. My stomach flipped, and I hurled, made it to the bathroom this time, thank God. I couldn't tell what was worse, seeing her like that or choking down that awful rum and coke. After rinsing my mouth and Atlanticing water on my face, I slumped back and stared at my laptop. Then it hit me, the footage jumped angles, panning around the room. Someone else was there, holding the camera. Holy crap, how many guys was she messing around with? I mixed another drink, whiskey and Sprite this time. It tasted just as lousy as the Atlantic one, and the video got uglier fast. Carrie and Georgie went at it for 2 straight hours, no breaks. Then the screen cut to black. I kept muttering to myself. It can't get any worse than this. Ever tried scotch and ginger ale? It's the nastiest combo on the planet, perfect match for what came next. The video flickered back on, and there they were, toweling each other off fresh from a shower. Baby, I've got a little something I want you to do, Georgie said. Anything for you, Georgie, you know that. She purred back. Rusty's been real nice filming us, he said. Time to show him some gratitude. Do him a solid. She glanced at Georgie, then at the lens. Rusty must have been the guy behind it. You sure about this? She asked, hesitating. Come on, babe, it's just a favor, he coaxed. Guess it's your lucky night, Rusty. Pants off, she said with a shrug. The screen went dark again. I woke up late the next morning, head pounding like a freight train had run through it. I showered and hit the buffet downstairs, hoping to choke something down. No dice, my stomach wasn't having it. I flipped my phone back on, a dozen missed calls from Carrie, 2 from Sara. Carrie could shove it, I dialed Sara instead. Hey Matt, how's it going? She asked. Watched the first video you gave me. I grumbled. Don't tell me you puked again. She teased. I'd say damn you, but I don't know you well enough, so how about curse you? I groaned back. Hungover, huh? She chuckled. Lord, I hadn't been trashed since prom night, but I made up for lost time yesterday. I admitted. Where are you at? City, I said. What the heck are you doing out there? She pressed. Trying to blow every penny so my soon-to-be ex doesn't get a dime. Good luck with that, she said. She swung by the hospital Atlantic night to see the dirtbag. No clue how she found out he'd been shot or where he was, but she tracked him down. Were you there? I asked. Heck no, she snapped. Told you, next time I see him, it's in a courtroom. Did they let her in? I asked. Nope, he's locked down in isolation, no visitors, she said. How do you know she showed up? His mom called me. She explained. She's wondering why I haven't visited. I told her he's a cheating lowlife, I'm done with him, and she's welcome to take him back if he makes it. Anyway, enough about those clowns. When you heading home? Dunno, maybe 3 or 4 days, I guessed. Well, if you're serious about slapping that video online, let me know how I can pitch in. Give me a shout when you're back, she said. I managed to nibble a little food after that, then figured it was time to hit the blackjack tables again. 4 hours later, I'd racked up another $6,500. This wasn't going how I'd pictured it. I was up $16,300 now, plus the $10,000 from the 4 checks I'd cashed Atlantic night. So there I was, sitting pretty with $26,800 stuffed in my pockets. I swear, it felt like a giant neon sign was blinking over my head, screaming, "Mug this dumb sucker!" I hightailed it to my room and stashed the cash in the safe. Then I plopped down with a drink from the minibar. This time, I wanted something I'd actually enjoy, so I whipped up a gin and tonic. Sipping it, I ran through my money situation in my head. Carrie couldn't lay a finger on my family trust. Everything I'd earned and socked away before we got hitched was locked up tight in there. Her car's titled in her name, so she can keep that junker. The house we've been living in? Trust property too, she's got no claim on it. In the 31 months we'd been married, we'd blown through cash like it was going out of style, but barely invested a dime. Before I cashed those checks Atlantic night, we had about $13,500 in our joint account. 4 credit cards sat with a measly $3,200 balance between them. I'd yanked $10,000 out of the account the night before, leaving maybe $3,200 behind. Pay off the cards, and the balance would be scraps. Carrie? She'd never worked a single day in her life, not once. Before we tied the knot, her folks footed her bills, and I picked up the tab after. She wanted the stay-at-home wife gig, and I'd been fine with that. Live and let live, right? No point in sticking around city anymore. I flew home, and within 2 hours of touching down, I'd dumped my winnings into the trust. All but 1 credit card was paid off and axed, and I rang Sara to let her know I was back in town. I rolled up to the house feeling halfway decent. Carrie's car was parked in the garage, but she was in a foul mood when I walked in. "What's this crap about me being a cheater?" she barked. "I've never stepped out on you. Why'd you hang up on me? Why didn't you call back?" She ranted until her voice gave out, throwing every and she could muster my way. Where'd you crash the night before Atlantic? I asked, keeping it cool. Right here, duh, she snapped. That's a lie, I fired back. You were camped out in Memorial Hospital's waiting room, trying to see your boyfriend Tom Allen Bennett, I said. You were there all day yesterday and Atlantic night too. You've been home maybe 2 hours tops, only because they booted your sorry butt out. I, she stuttered, tripping over her tongue. To hell with your ayahs, I cut in. Pack your crap and get out of this house in 1 hour. You jerk, she yelled. You can't kick me out of my own place, plus I'm pregnant. The courts won't let you. Man, you and Georgie are dumber than a bag of hammers, I said. How'd he ever make cop? This house is trust property. As trustee, I'm telling you to beat it. Courts can't touch that. This ain't your husband talking now, I added. This is the guy holding a rock-solid legal document. You've got 55 minutes. But Matt, what about our baby? She whined. You mean Martina? She ain't mine, and she ain't my problem. Ask her real daddy what to do. Oh, wait, you can't. He's stuck in isolation at the hospital, I said. If a DNA test proves she's mine after she's born, I'll step up for her. But you and me? Done. Clock's ticking. A heavy silence hung there. Matt, she started again. What did I say about that stammering? Just go. 20 minutes later, her car peeled out of the driveway. 8 days down the road, Tom Allen Bennett kicked the bucket from those wounds he took. Protecting our fair city. Or so the paper spun it. They gave him a big hero's send-off. Photos from the funeral popped up online, Carrie sobbing, propped up by some guy labeled just Rusty. Sara and I caught the shots on my laptop from our hotel room in Cabo San Lucas, lounging after checking our bank account. In under a week since I'd tossed those videos Sara found online, they'd pulled in $1,750. I'm never slinging another car again. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the story. And subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new interesting stories. See you soon.